This episode is sponsored by Furniture Box. Check them out in the description below.
Guys, welcome to The Ground Floor, the podcast where we ask successful people exactly how they did it. Our guest today is Tetyana Probyy-Holova, who is the founder of Cellulite Slayer, which is a multi-award winning clinic with a signature massage treatment and a range of different treatments for your face and body. So, Tetty, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. So, people that don't know you, and I'm certainly curious, even though I've done some research on you, what's the situation with Cellulite Slayer, and tell people about it.
So the Cellulite Slayer started as a massage technique, which was brought from Eastern Europe into London by me.
Yeah.
And with a physiotherapy background, I've created this combination of different massage techniques, which helps to reduce water retention, tighten the skin, and reduce the cellulite. So, but 20 years now, like lymphatic massage and body treatments, hands-on body treatments are quite popular. But 20 years ago, to tell somebody you're going to get a massage and it's going to help you to get rid of your cellulite or improve your body and appearance, it was unheard of. And but due to the fact that I believed in that technique and I saw the difference so much and I stick to it for that long now, it's developed into 3 floors in the middle of a Chelsea salon.
Yeah. And so just for context then, I mean, can you give us an idea of what you were doing before Cellulite Slayer?
So I'm originally Ukrainian and I have a background in professional sport. So I have a black belt in judo. And so I'm a champion of Ukraine in judo.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay, you're a champion?
Yes, I'm a champion of Ukraine. That's how you get a title of a black belt. And
do not get on her bad side is the message there.
Well, you're on my side, so it's fine.
He's right.
I'm glad I'm on this side of the desk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I was training for Europe and had an injury, quite a bad injury. Had to do a lot of physio. And I really got fascinated by the physio. So I thought then I couldn't go back due to my injury to sport. And it's a big change when something is your full passion, full life is sport. And all of a sudden you're told you can't do that. So you have to, but luckily I straight away really liked physio. So because I was doing a lot for myself. And I entered the university for the physiotherapy. So I got a degree in physiotherapy, human health and sport. And even when I entered university, I already did like massage course and already started having my private clients. After university, I go to, I already, at the age of 16, that's when I entered university, I already had a job at one of the top salons in Ukraine, and people all sports people, because they knew me for years and years, they were my clients. Okay. So like twice world champion of judo, Ali Nur Mohammed was my client. Wow. And it's just, so all of a sudden I have all my friends from sports are my clients as well. So that's how I gain a lot of strength, because Cellulite Slayer, it's not a gentle treatment, let's put it, so it involves a lot of power. So the background of professional sport gave me enough power, and physiotherapy degree gave me enough knowledge to create this particular massage technique.
Okay. And when did you come to the UK?
So I came to the UK, I was 18. I was finishing, so I was entering 3rd year of my university, and my sister was here and I came for the wedding and I just loved it, and I thought it's my place. So I was doing university like online, and I came to London 18. I didn't speak a word of English.
Wow, okay.
I could say, hello, my name is Tetyana, I'm from Ukraine. That's about it. And also, like, I'm from very normal family, so I didn't know I had $200, a little suitcase, pair of jeans, a t-shirt, and no language.
Wow. Okay, so rags to riches story.
Yeah.
It really is. Okay, I like that.
Quite
Yeah,
literally.
so I took a bus I couldn't even get direct flight from Ukraine to London, so I had to go to Lithuania, and then from Lithuania flight to London, and anyway, so
Wow. Wow.
yes.
So how did you go from not speaking the language to, in sort of setting up what you're doing now? Were you working in other jobs first before you set up your salon, or how did you go about that?
Yes. So everything is a hard work. I came here. I went to the college, so I started learning English, and I was never a shy person. So I all of a sudden was invited by Russian-speaking, Ukrainian-speaking friends to all event, and I was just picking up the words and learning. I went to the gym, so I also was like listening to a yoga instructor. So English was my first client was actually a manager at the gym, and I told her like, okay, like I do massage in my own way, in my own language I could, and I offered her a free massage, and she's like, wow, I love it. So I did her first massage for £5 an hour.
Wow.
Okay.
So I was
£5. I mean, this is 20 years ago, I guess, but still, that's cheap.
Yes, so I did £5, and actually for probably 6 months, and then it's just word by mouth. Now it's podcast and Instagram and social media and everything is quite popular. Back then it was just word by mouth.
Sure.
So all of a sudden I'm getting like lots of referrals and word by mouth, and but I worked 7 days a week, and I used to go to people in different locations. So it's really like a dedication, and I didn't want to do any other job. So some people take up another job, but I knew that's what I wanted to do.
How did you know that was what you wanted to do?
I just knew. I was so passionate about it, and I think I was getting such a good feedback from the clients back, and it just grew so fast. Because once, when you just come, people do want to help. There is that humanitarian factor. Is like, oh, a girl arrived and she's very good and she's looking for a job and she's cheap and she's come anytime, and sort of, so all of a sudden people just kindness and just refer. Before 1 month later I'm fully booked.
Wow.
Cheap,
Sure.
but it didn't matter to me because like my sister I was living with my sister, so I knew I had a place to live. So at the beginning I didn't have to buy the rent and things like this. So I had food and I have a roof over my head, right?
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yes.
And so how did you scale from, because were you doing inbound calls, or were they coming to you?
No, I used to go to ladies, houses. I used to do families as well. So did a lot of physio. So yes, I used to go to people's houses like a mobile therapist.
Yeah, sure. And so how did you make that for £5 an hour? How did you make that work? Because the travel time and then the money on travel and all that kind of stuff.
Back then it was different. Back then people used to earn £50-60 a day.
Yeah.
So if I did 6-7 massages a day, which is alone. I used to leave home 7. I would not come back till 11.
Wow.
So yes, that obviously later you try to combine in the same area and things like this. But I used to do like 8-9 massages a day, and some people give me a little tip, or they feed me, or like somebody knows, or did you have lunch? And gave me. So it's a really like, even the people see the passion and so how you good to them. They want to help. So they helped me with the language. I didn't even have massage bed. So we used to literally do it on the floor.
Oh, wow. Okay, right. Okay, you literally let nothing get in your way.
Like,
okay, right.
I guess for £5 you get what you pay
Yeah, of
for, in
course.
a way.
You know what the product is.
The help, the fact that it's so cheaply priced is good, because it's like, they're like, you don't have a massage bed. You're like, it's £5.
Yeah.
Take the massage.
Take
Take it now.
Yeah.
And so how did you go from scaling up? How do you, because that's the thing a lot of people have a sort of problem with, or they encounter as a struggle, is like changing pricing. It's like, I'm charging £20 an hour, but how do I go from 20 and start charging more? It's awkward. A client's going to leave me. How do I have that conversation? How did you transition from?
Yes,
from that?
That's definitely a big factor, and it's a fear at first as well. So at some point you get so fully booked, right, that you just can't take any more clients, and you're realizing, okay, and also it's tiring because it's a very physical.
Sure.
So there is only so many hours a day you can do. So you just tell them, and you just accept that you're more likely to lose 30%, which is fine, because if you increase your prices, let's say by 20% or 30%, you're getting the same thing. So I think that 30% loss every time I increase, but it was just like new people came in and it just was building up. So I would not, yes, I would advise not to be feared of charging appropriate prices for the work if you have no space. So so there is a buyer for any for everything, right? So it is what it is, and at some point you realize you just can't do it. So it's there is sorry, but I just can't do it. I'm physically tired. My hands are now hurting me, and I just can't do it.
How did you actually come up with the pricing then? Once you went for
it
£5
was just
and
the
you increased.
£5. It was like more free massage as a tip.
Yeah.
Oil, whatever. So it was, I think back then the minimum wage was like £6 or £5.40 an hour. So I guess that sort of like was, I don't even know. I think it just was like more like a tip.
And how did you price it when you increased it? How did you come up with that number?
Just £5 more.
Okay.
So I was like 10 quid. Then I went 20 quid. Then I went like 35, and I stayed for 35 for a long time. And but also my aim always was to be in central London. So I was selecting, so I already knew, even though I lived by Heathrow Airport, I already was moving into Chelsea and Belgravia area. So then then all of a sudden, when you're moving to Chelsea and Belgravia area, you're hitting the scene. And that is a totally different people. So all of a sudden you have
all the Chelsea
the CEO of Joseph, all the Chelsea, the housewife, all these people, celebrities, right? Just coming to you. And one of the clients of Chelsea, they had a salon. It's called Neville. It's in Belgrave. It's a very famous hairdressing salon. She was my client, and she said, by the way, we're restructuring the possibility for you to have a room there.
Ah, okay.
So I'm like, wonderful. So she was my client and said, okay, I have a salon and I want you to be there, right? So I start renting. 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week. And then I just started renting full time for like 8 years at that space. And I was best kept Chelsea secret. It's like, how do we get appointment with Tetyana? You know what I mean? Okay. Yes, it's like that.
Oh wow!
So how do you cultivate that? Because that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants to be the kind of, it's the hype,
the go-to.
You're the go-to. Well, it's the go-to, but it's also the go-to where it's like everyone wants a spot. How do you build that feeling?
I think that feeling is because I'm very, very niche specialization. Back then, it did not exist. Okay, so there was a lot of salons, beauty treatments, machine, this and that, massage, but not that specific type of massage. And I always stuck to only that. So I think it's a very soon in your career realizing your very specific niche, and then just stick to it. And trust me, you would be, throughout the journey, you will be told the advice many times. When I wanted to open a Cellulite Slayer in the middle of King's Road, I've heard it all. Really? You're going to open a Cellulite Slayer on King's Road and you're going to call it like that? And I'm like, yeah, that's ridiculous. And guess what? Now we have walking in clients and I'm like, tell us what you do. What a name.
Yeah. It's a catchy name. I heard someone wrote an article about you, didn't they? And came up with the name. Is that right? And you thought, because you've been given quite a few names, haven't you, in your business? This is the one that stuck, right?
Yes. So this is the one I kept. The Cellulite Slayer is I used to be called Human Power Plate and a Ukrainian Judo Champion. But because I always was dealing with cellulite and the Slayer is a part of like a judo background, I always kept it. So I really like that combination. Back then, again, it was like really controversial, right?
Yeah.
But I thought it's quite cool, and
And it's certainly, it's not a very Chelsea feel. It's something different.
Right?
Which is in your face.
Definitely,
Stands out.
yeah, exactly.
So now we do have a Cellulite Slayer middle of Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly. So once you moved in then, how did you, obviously you had word of mouth as your main sort of marketing strategy, but what else did you deploy that allowed you to kind of continue on that kind of growth curve?
I think it's I think a transition from the salon, like I just like outgrew it. I needed more space. I've started training one more therapist, and we just needed more space. Then I start renting a smaller like place. It's 2 rooms, and I've rented, and a COVID started.
Wow.
During the COVID, the landlord and the owner, they had a fallout or something, and I was asked to leave again. So now, like 2 years into COVID, I left one place. I decorated a second. I'm now asked a year later to leave that place, even though I had 5-year contract. So I'm in the middle of a lockdown, left without no space with a therapist, which is like I was on a payroll. And I started looking for places. And I wanted like 2-3 rooms, in Chelsea. All of a sudden, I found this space, right, which is 3 floors, and I know I could put 7 rooms in there. And I'm like, I'm taking it. So it was a very scary step from having basically 1 room in a salon to 3 floors, 7 rooms. And like when you do renovation, you need like 7 hand washers and 7 massage beds, and all of a sudden it's like so
what was the cost of that, out of interest?
So we all did it. So I did it all myself. So I had some savings. I had help of the government because they had the £50,000 bounce back loan, which is as a help or support. Plus, I negotiated hard and tough on some rent-free period. There was rates reduction time. So it was a perfect time, actually, to do the business because you have time on your hands and people are willing to be helpful for a new business.
And also, don't you think it's funny how in a period where, COVID's happening and as you said, you're getting kicked out and it seems like everything's about to end, somehow it then weirdly saves you in a way that's then even better than it would have been had COVID not even happened in the first place.
That's my story.
Yeah. I'm constantly amazed by that. We've had so many experiences like that where we've come up against an obstacle and we're like, everything's about to break, and then something even better than what would have originally happened comes out of it.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So you then obviously you had 7 rooms and you're getting staff in at this point, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so I'm interviewing my staff. So I have a friend of mine who was a general manager in a salon before, all of a sudden been done redundant, and I'm like, come and work for me. So a doctor, esthetician, she's also was my friend. All of a sudden she's out of maternity leave. So I'm getting this of my old contacts on board and somebody who's really shares the passion with me. And so that was my core team, and then interviewing people, teaching them, training them. So it's a work involved in every stage because I was a full-time therapist. I still am a full-time therapist and a business owner and entrepreneur, planning on expansion. We have product range. We're opening Cellulite Slayer Academy. Like, yes.
Yeah.
But it's a thought. It's that passion which drives you. But you have to love what you're doing.
Yeah, you do. And it comes across in any product that you're doing as well, whether it's, skincare or it's what we're doing with this. It really does. It does come across. I mean, when you've hired people then, did you ever come across the obstacle of people wanted you to be their kind of therapist or versus someone that works for you because you were the one obviously that's got that skill set?
Absolutely, and it's still the case. So, but I think it's how well you train your staff. So my staff is constantly on all the seminars, all the trainings. I'm constantly on them. So the whole structure of the salon is all my therapists do exactly the same thing. So there is no competition between therapists. The client can go to each and every one of us and they would get exact same treatment. And it's very important in our salon. So therefore, there is no competition between staff, and a client really get what they want from anyone. Of course, there is a personal preferences of the energetically connecting
Sure.
to one, and yes, but and somebody just wanting me, for example, and I'm still available. That's why I'm still a therapist. But I think it's more like an initial consultation. So people want an initial, okay, I've heard about Tetyana and I want to do it with her. But when they come to me and they get an consultation first and they get a treatment and they understand, I'm like, you really like you nothing is wrong and you really can go to any of my therapists. I'm gonna, I perhaps tell them who, because of somebody the stronger, somebody to like to tell them who, and I said I will leave them exact a description of my recommendations to you, and they really happily go to therapist. It's just that initial they want to see the best. But if that best tell the client that therapist is personally trained by me and overlooked by me, and if at any point you don't like it, you come back to me because I'm still here, why don't you give it a go? And guess what? You're going to get charged less.
Have you noticed much in terms of the way of competition? Are there other people doing the kind of thing that you're doing? And if so, how do you navigate that and separate yourself?
Now, yes. Before but competition is a good thing. Because the more competition there is, the more they spread the word about this particular treatment. So they come up with different marketing, and the lymphatic drainage is good for this and different. So the more people know this treatment, the more they search, and the more they come back to you. So it's almost like we are in it promoting this particular treatment, which is hands-on approach to beauty, which is world is moving to now. I think world want that personal right now, especially after COVID and in the major cities, so much stress. They want that personal hands-on approach. And if it and if it's result driven, that it's amazing. So, and that's what we're trying to create. So we have we combine treatment. We're like infrared sauna, cryo chamber, IV drips, booster shots, massage, body rubs. So you almost feel like, okay, if you're tired, why don't you have today a magnesium rub, or have a little you feel inflammation, have an infrared sauna. So we have this combination of treatments which complement each other to more of a hands-on and cared for. So people come in, they would be tired, they know go sauna, put a nice bathrobe on, go have a massage, and it's all not just to make you feel better, but also result driven.
So when you actually moved into the new place with the 3 floors and the 7 rooms, at that point, are all of your clientele, is it still purely word of mouth, or are you doing any sort of marketing at the same time?
So we're still not doing much marketing. Let's
that's
put it.
amazing.
That is incredible. Okay.
That's insane, yeah.
Oh, we are planning.
A testament to the product in a way.
Yes, but we are planning to, because we're expanding into US market and everything else. Going to be Cellulite. I'm hoping to have a Cellulite Slayer on every high street of a capital around the world.
Exciting.
Wow.
Okay.
That's exciting.
So that's the plan, and I think that when we moved in here, the space, there was still available space, right? And we needed to fill the space, and we slowly did it. I think we took a stage. Some people get investors and they fill it up and marketing. So because we did it very slow, we didn't have much money to spend on the marketing. So what we did, we get a social media guy who posts. We create content, just send it to him, and he just posting on social media. So just to bring awareness. But also journalists come in, and they will have a treatment, write about. So we've been in Vogue, Tatler, Women Fitness, you name the magazine, we've been in it.
Right.
Yes. Also on the ITV this morning, on the national television.
Wow.
With yes.
Yeah.
So, and all of this is organic. So I think ITV read about us in Daily Mail, And somebody just called up and said, oh, by the way, can we invite Tetyana for an interview? Literally like that.
Okay.
Wow.
So we are not, and also influencers. So I think the way organically marketing works nowadays, it's influencers. So if you get influencers which fits your business, so it's not everybody who has any amount of followers.
Yeah.
So you get a nice influencer. It could be 20,000. You can probably get more business out of 20,000 followers rather than 1.5 million followers.
Yeah.
It's just what our experience. It's just what fits, what audience that influencer have. Will they be interested in you? We offer them a free treatment, and then they come in and then they post. But it's not contractually. If you like your treatment, you're welcome to post. So that's it. But we're selective with that as well, because we're limited to staff and limited power.
How effective has that been?
Amazing.
Because I know it's a really saturated market whenever you do go around the influencer
when you
route.
get all top Victoria's Secret models through posting at the same
True.
time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
For a beauty business, that might help.
Yeah, true.
So for some, we have Nadine Leopold, Lorena,
Okay.
Rina Shagin.
Okay, just a couple
Wow.
of names that come through. Yeah, okay.
If you want to pass on their contact info, we'd love to promote.
we'll have a chat after
We'll
the show,
promote the
that's
business.
fine. Yeah.
I was going to say, what advice would you give to someone who might want to kind of go into the same industry as you, like in the kind of skincare-ish, sort of health, beauty kind of niche? If someone was looking to get started, what kind of advice do you think you'd give someone?
Go into niche, because beauty, skincare, it's all different things.
Yeah.
So choose your passion and choose your specialty and stick to it and learn about it. So if you want to go into the skincare, it is, what is skincare? Are you going to have your own product range as a skincare, or you just going to advise people on a skincare? And so it's like choose very niche where you are. Choose your place. I think that's number one. So if you want to be a beauty therapist or something, you select whatever you want. Do you want to attach yourself to the brand, or do you want to multi-brand? What location? What are your clients? So I think, and also listen to the feedback from clients. So I do spend a lot of money by doing other treatments. It's not that I'm trying to pick what they have. It's just like nice to know what is out there.
Sure.
So there is a beauty exhibition, conferences, seminars totally available. And it's registered for free, so you can go and learn about new equipment, new technology, because it's very changing.
Become familiar with your industry.
Become familiar with your industry. Even if you're not into, I'm just was a massage therapist, but I did not miss a single aesthetic conference. I was looking at devices, 100,000 laser devices, Nd:YAG, you name it. I did not even know what those words means, but I knew about it.
Yeah. And how would you? So, what advice would you give to someone who's about to go out and get their own clients? How would you sort of advise them to go and do that?
To get clients, first of all, depends on what you're doing and how to get clients. Is number one, like ask them to word by mouth, refer some other friends. Maybe ask them to write a Google review if you have a website. It's also like we're very people used to writing reviews about restaurants and hotels, but it's also important to write reviews on the beauty treatments and things. It does help small businesses. So basically, whatever you have, whatever little 1-2 clients you have, ask them for your help, for help. Maybe write a review, maybe do a little social media post. Maybe they know somebody who is influential, or just give them, like, it's all about the communication.
Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to talk about our sponsor for this episode, Furniture Box. Furniture Box is an online furniture retailer that makes awesome products for everywhere from your bedroom to your office. Now, we actually had Monty and Dan, the co-founders, on our show. That's how we met. We loved their story and we hung out with them afterwards, and we knew that we wanted to work with them. And here's the thing. One of the biggest issues I have whenever I've ordered furniture in the past is that certain big name furniture companies, not naming any names, will charge you a fairly large fee for delivery. And even then, that delivery usually takes a few days, if not longer. With FurnitureBox, not only do they offer free next day delivery, but they're now planning on extending their delivery cutoff even more so that you can literally order a dining set as late as 8 p.m. and be eating dinner on it the next day. So to put it simply, there's no one in the UK furniture scene that's doing anything like what they're doing, and we're thrilled to have them as our sponsor. So click the link in the description and check them out. Now back to the episode.
Can you discuss and speak a little bit more to some of the most common issues that people come in with in your industry?
Like as a business?
Yeah, I mean, well, even in terms of clients, but I mean, like, is there something that sort of this tends to be the main thing that most people want? And is there an argument to double down on that service and forget about others? Obviously, now you're bigger, so you've branched out and you offer more services. But is there sort of one main thing that this tends to be the main thing people come in for?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, we just had a meeting with like an expansion specialist, and what we was advised is actually, they said the way the franchising and the investors work, they look at the business, they pick top 3 performing treatment or anything, top 3, they strip the rest and they just focus on the 3 and multiply it different location. So I would suggest there are 2 ways to go, right? One is to get a place and just fill it up with a lot of equipment, a lot of things, and just grow and grow and grow. Another thing is just to stick to that small and grow as a location wise. And I preferred, like, I did grow, so I do have some equipment, but when you entering the equipment heavy and that sort of, you entering a lot of competition. Then you're not an exclusive, you're not a niche. Because equipment available for everybody. And there is always somebody have more money than you. Yeah, so all of a sudden you hitting that the top already very established for decades clinics and salon who can invest into any latest equipment, any price. So unless you have that money, I would think about it twice, right? Obviously there are some equipment needed for your treatments, but you know, like at some point you should stop investing into that particular, unless you have loads of money, because every machine is like 70 plus.
I bet.
Yeah, so the way is to top 3. So our most performant treatment as a Cellulite Slayer, signature massage, lymphatic drainage, and facials.
Right.
Can you talk us through what the lymphatic drainage entails and how it works?
So
yeah, I just nodded like I knew what that was.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Of course, the lymphatic drainage.
Yeah,
obviously.
of course. We
can't run a business without that.
Exactly.
Can't start my day without lymphatic drainage.
Well, in a way, you know, when you wake up and feel puffy,
Yeah.
that's what you wish you had.
I have one of those.
Okay.
You know, in this is gonna make me sound like such a psychopath. You know, in American Psycho.
Yeah.
You know the eye mask thing that he
Yes.
has. I bought one of those once,
Okay.
a similar one. It wasn't that one, but it was like a similar one, and I would put that on in the mornings to kind of stop the puffiness
Yes.
and
Did
stuff.
Did that work?
It wasn't that cold. It was a shit one.
So
I
no.
tried to find the one from American Psycho, and I couldn't find it anywhere.
Okay.
It was like a big ice pack one. This one was like a tiny. It looked like swimming goggles.
Okay.
It was shit, but it didn't really do much. But then I used to put This is so like
Go into it. Go
makeshift.
into it.
I would get.
Everyone wants to know. Tetyana's judging you right now, so
I'd
she's
love to
curious.
know.
Yeah,
But you're a professional.
Love to know.
I'm a comedian. You're a professional. Just remember, I'm not in beauty. I tell jokes for a living, right? I would get spoons.
Yeah.
And I would put spoons in the freezer.
Yeah.
And then I would then take them out of the freezer, and then I'd just push them.
Oh my God, that's
Okay,
actually
that's terrifying.
please
That's
do
dangerous.
Not perform it at home.
Yeah, it's just
because
dangerous.
if that spoon is cold and
Yeah.
frozen, if
Yeah.
you have any liquid, which is could be like a teardrop, it
Yeah.
would get
It would
stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't try this at home, kids. All right. Don't try this at home.
Okay, so it just essentially kind of gets rid of the puffiness around.
Yes.
around
So
your
we
eyes.
have a blood circulation,
Yeah.
you know, which we have like a heart to circulate the blood, right? It pumps around. And we have the same lymphatic system. It's very similar to the blood circulation, but it doesn't have a pump like a heart. So it's more on a muscular basis. So a lot of time due to genetic, due to many factors, salt, alcohol, like just like traveling and things like this, the fluid, the fluid just retains, the lymphatic nodes cannot keep up with all that fluid. But that fluid is very important for immune system, That's why when people are sick, they normally feel the lymph nodes. They feel so. That fluid is very important. There is like blood pressure. It's for the immune system, for fat as well. If it doesn't work properly, then it sort of stores more fat, and so on. So lymphatic system is very, very. It's one of the most important. Everything is important in our body, but it's very important. And a lot of women, unfortunately, experiencing that water retention, that feeling of heavy legs. You guys like bellies more and the eyes, right? But and there's no many treatments that for it. There isn't, because you can't treat water retention with the heat, so you can't have any laser or radio frequency devices. Yes, you can do like that's what you're doing. That's perfect for the water retention. And you know what? You just take 2 ice cubes, 1, 2, 3, and you're done.
So don't push.
Just a little.
Don't put frozen spoons.
Don't put that. So you can just use 2 ice cubes and do that, and it works the same way. So
I might try that.
My tip.
What's the thing with the cucumbers? You know, people put cucumbers on
Well, again,
their
it has a high level, like hyaluronic acid, and it's a little bit cold, and it's like wet, and it's pressure. That's what massage does. It's a little pressure, because the little pressure reduces the puffiness. Plus, it's a little cold, and it has like the elements like hyaluronic acid, which is moisturizing. So you feel a little pressure. Your eyes are rested, because apparently the energy, a lot of our energy, are actually released through the eyes. So sometimes resting the eyes, closing your eyes, is actually gives your overall body energy.
Interesting. I'm going to try that as well then. One thing I also wanted to touch on was, obviously going into your industry, you need to be quite educated and know a certain amount about, kind of biologically. Where did you learn business? And what did you know going into it?
So if I knew how much it takes, I don't know if I would have done it.
Interesting. I've had other people say that. Okay. Right.
So it's sort of like you just throw you in a deep end and you just try your best. And,
figure out. Okay, fine.
Yes. So no, I already used to managing people because I had clients. I used to manage my taxes and things because I already was paying taxes, and so I think that knowledge was done, okay, and before you sort of learn. But then business is not such something you really need to learn. It's also people, I got a lot of advice from friends, so I always ask. I was never afraid to ask. And funny enough, people in a business, entrepreneurs, love beginners entrepreneurs, because they sort of see themselves in us, and they're really willing to help. And you would be surprised at what level entrepreneurs would be just willing to give you your time.
No, we've learned that.
We've learned that doing this. I mean, just sitting down and being able to get people on the podcast, we were amazed at some of the people that are, when we are starting out, that have just come down and said, I'll give you an hour.
But I think you're right. It's, you see something in the other person, right? And you want to help them because you've been through that journey, and you've got to the, wherever you've got to, and you want to add that value to people coming up and going through that as well. Yeah,
so that's a part of the humanity as well. It's just people. And also, the more you talk about this, the more you spread, it's all energy.
Yeah.
We were talking about that off camera.
Yes. I tell you interesting story. I had this client of mine. As a therapist, obviously, you don't judge, and we're not about weight loss or anything at any point. We're all about empowering women in any shape or form, but to look the best she wants to be, in her forms. So as a therapist, obviously, you don't discuss the forms. And I saw this client walking in, and as a therapist, I'm like, wow, she has amazing body, in my head. And I look at her and I'm like, how can I help you? And the first thing came out of her mouth was, I hate my body.
Really?
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I realize, okay, so I'm a therapist and I see a lot of bodies. And I admired it earlier. So anything I would be doing for that person it's not going to make her change the way she thinks about herself. So at that point, I really gone into trying into woman self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem. So without pressuring, but perhaps seeding the plant of awareness of self-love, self-worth, because obviously it's a low self-esteem and Selflove. So I started to study yoga, and all of a sudden I was like, I want to do a retreat, yoga retreat, and I got this email saying Rishikesh yoga teacher training, and I thought Rishikesh literally was like a studio in London. I did not realize it's like a village in Himalayas in India.
You signed up for it.
I signed
I might
up
pop
for
down
it.
after lunch, actually. Yeah.
I love that.
So all of a sudden, and it was like 4 years ago,
Yeah.
I find myself with a backpack all alone going for 5 weeks living in the
Whoa.
ashram
Yeah, wow,
in
okay.
Rishikesh.
You thought we were in Islington. Okay,
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah. Great.
So you
Got it.
do
Wow.
those crazy things,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know what? It was the best experience I've had, and it gives you power, it gives you strength. So one also advice is don't stop learning, because when you stop learning, you lose that passion. Because, okay, I didn't do like a massage or beauty related, but then that brought me so much more into energy of the people. So, for example, if I touch their stomach and I feel there is a tension, I know stomach is directly connected to the nervous system. So I perhaps could say, how's your stress levels? So it's all interconnected. So whatever you do, don't stop learning, because that's when you stop learning, be rest assured, couple of year time, you would be bored with your work and you would be looking for a job change. And that's where you go off your powers by sticking to one thing for long enough to see the financial benefits.
Yeah, always stay curious.
At what point would you say is the point to give up on a business?
Never.
Okay.
You sell it, and you sell it very expensive.
So, but this, I think I see what he's saying, because there is the argument that we had this conversation with our last guest, and we were saying how at what point is it persistence and at what point is it delusion?
I think at the point when you don't have a booking and you start making a loss,
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
sort of rethink that. And obviously you have to roll with the punches. There are different things and different things happening, but you can always evolve. If you stay ahead of things, you know, if you can see the market is moving totally different direction to you, you have to change
Yeah.
and evolve. And of course, along the way, you make losses. I mean, I bought a cryo chamber, right? I'm like, amazing, £25,000. I can do it. I didn't realize there is only 2 companies in the UK who supply the gas, and to install the gas supply to my chamber, it's cost me 46,000.
Oh wow.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a loss I've made, and
Yeah,
it was not totally planned. So unfortunately, I roll with the punches, and it's like, yes, it's a loss, and you're like, okay, so what do I do about it?
So do you still have the cryo chamber?
I have, because I bought it
That's
and
what
I
I'm
have to
saying, yeah,
install.
yeah,
So
yeah.
obviously, I more likely will never make the money, because also then it goes a liter per nitrogen you buy anyway, which is evaporates. So if you don't have enough client, the gas evaporates. So it's a nightmare, but it's a learning process. And sometimes you just have to, it is what it is.
I've always wanted to try a cryo chamber. I've been looking into them for a while. I think they're really cool.
They're very good.
Yeah. Have you ever done a sensory deprivation tank?
No.
They're called like isolation tanks or flotation tanks.
Oh God, sounds like anxiety.
It-
Heaven.
Yes. Yeah.
I did it, and it is.
I'm having a
Okay,
panic
yeah,
attack.
no,
I
for
know.
me personally, it is.
Yeah. But he this is, can I say this? 'Cause this
Yeah,
is really
okay.
funny.
I
This is
know
really
exactly
funny.
what you're gonna say.
So
go ahead.
essentially what it is, it's like a tank, right? And the door shuts and it's got Epsom bath salts in the water so that you stay buoyant. And then it's there's no smell, there's no sound, and you can't see anything. It's pitch black. And there's this little light in the tank and a little bit of gentle calming music, and you get in the tank and you shut the tank, and then after like a minute the music fades off, the light fades off, and it's sensory deprivation. You have no senses. You can't see, smell, feel, touch, anything. And eventually it feels like you're kind of floating through space, and it's a profoundly therapeutic personal experience, right? And and so my brother did it. He was a really big advocate for it, and he was like, you have to try this. Like, this is really amazing. You get in touch with yourself, de-stresses you, like life-changing experience. And I did it, and I was like, whoa. And I was like lying in this tank, and I was like, this is incredible. Told James he should give it a try. I couldn't be there with him when he did it, but he went with my brother, and I called him after, and I was like, did you do it? And he goes, yeah. Turns out halfway through he got bored and checked his email. He opened the tank. This is the least like energy guy in the work. He opened the tank, a sensory deprivation attack. He opened the tank and checked his work email halfway through the
I feel like it's
session.
just not necessarily for some people. Let's be honest.
I think it just
like,
wasn't your
It's just not my bag.
I know,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
still so
right.
funny.
Yeah,
Of
it
all
is.
the, of
No,
all
no,
the
I know
things,
when
it
you-
wasn't
when you
even
say
like you
like
got
that.
out and
No,
did
no,
like
I
a cup,
know.
had like a cup of tea,
No, I know.
or like you checked your email.
Yeah, I know,
You're
it's
in
not
you're in the
great,
most
it's not great.
spiritual like
Yeah.
thing in the world.
It's not great. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
At least you did it. I probably would never be convinced to do it.
It is a little bit scary when you first
It
get
is.
in the tank. You can always push the lid open, but it does feel a bit in the beginning claustrophobic a little bit. What happens in a cryo chamber then?
It's the one we have is like open and there is a door you can always, but your head is above and you for 3 minutes and there is always a person with you. You can see the time ticking away and you can see the temperature you at. So there is some sort of entertaining going on while you do it. So it's quite.
And what are the benefits of it?
Like if you can work out, like literally kill yourself, like at the gym, and you do one of those sessions, you don't have the muscle pain the next day.
Really?
So it's a really anti-inflammatory. It's sort of like pushes the blood through your limbs into your chest because it's like a protective mechanism, and when it defreezes it oxygenates in your chest, and it's like oxygenated blood rushes into your limbs, so you get this like amazing feel of lightness and rejuvenation and detox and stuff, but anti-inflammatory for sure.
Okay, I should try it. I wanted to also touch on sort of some of the lowest points and hardest points of the business. So what were they, and what did they teach you?
So I guess the lowest point of the business is probably dealing with staff.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's not the lowest. It's because when you start, you do rely on staff a lot. And, people have their own agendas. People, they have their own plans. So when you put so much training and sort of expectations into them and you pay them well and they just like leave or anything like this, it's like or too soon or not being honest with you, so I would say as a business you learn to grow a tough skin towards others. So I think the staff, all this being friends, is perhaps not necessarily can work. So because it hurts you then so much, because so it's always has to be friendly, professional, but also remember every business have like complaints. It's a very possible, somebody get a little bruise or somebody like didn't like something. So it's also how do you deal with complaints? What are you willing to do for people? Because does not matter how good you are, you still will get that. There will be, a competition maybe sending you, like as somebody who is, like to write a bad review or something. It's how you deal with it. So grow a thick skin and be kind to people. So, okay, it is happened. This is what I suggest we could help you with. Financial, like, refunds for the treatments as well work. So it's just not to get into the fight, especially with the client, because I believe the client is always right. Like if they're not right, it means we're not the right treatment for them. It's possible, but like at the end of the day, we're providing a service. So if they didn't get the service they want, so it's either they chose the wrong service or we didn't provide the right service.
I was going to say, in terms of things like refunds and issues like that where people aren't happy with the service, what's your personal method or strategy for handling that? Because we've had situations where in the past, maybe even in the past before we had our own studio, when we were renting studio space, there would be something that would maybe be wrong, but not like we would still have an episode out of it, but there would maybe be an issue that was part of the service. How do you know whether it's justified to maybe give someone a full refund or a partial refund, and how much? That's an interesting thing, I think.
I think you put it all very black and white on paper. I really believe in contracts, in everything spoken before. And so every client, at the confirmation time, they get an email. For example, there is a possibility of bruising. There is a 24-hour cancellation fees. And it's a very clear directly into what they say. So you eliminate that. Oh, I couldn't do it because of that and that. Okay, but unfortunately, this is our policy. And you tick your box by yourself by booking it. So you agree to it. So you protect yourself legally.
Yeah.
Number one, you see GDPR and things like this. You find all the information. It's a lot of research. So number one, you protect you. But some people are like, okay, but you said bruise, but I have more bruises than I thought by bruising means, for example. And you go like you can actually feel the person is like really want to pick an argument with you. So you just leave that. It's their personal unsatisfaction brought up to you on you. And you know what? We have 3,000 clients on our database. And by giving her my energy and involving into her stresses and things like this, I perhaps then cannot provide the better services for other clients. So I believe it's like stealing your energy. So I always apologize. Sorry, I couldn't meet your expectation, or you didn't receive the service you were hoping for. Yes, but it has to be done in a right way if you know you were wrong. So if, for example, I don't know, I got the lymphatic, it's a different, sorry, this is our lymphatic. No, you don't get it. So I think it's very, very individual, but protect yourself to as much as possible. Like, for example, maybe having the recordings, is it only your property or mine? Because there are also people, I know some people said like, they were like, this, and they, all of a sudden 5 years later they come in and say, sorry, you have to remove that from, because it didn't say any papers. So I guess you should really have a little piece of paper prior this conversation and saying everything been said is whatever, and all the recordings is actually our property.
Just make sure you're covered.
How are the people that you deal with? Are they relatively understanding and easy to deal with in terms of clients, or do you have a high number of individuals that are quite difficult to deal with?
No, we have we based on returning clients. We're in the middle of Chelsea, very residential, and I've been doing it for 20 years. Reputation is very important in a business. Yeah, so like, trust me, if you do 1, 2, 3 unhappy clients, and all of a sudden you have no business. So you have to watch out for that reputation. But sometimes people do take advantage, and you have to be strong, and like they threaten you, but there is no threat. It's just the fact, like one lady came to me and she said she started a massage, she started telling me what to do, and I'm like, so sorry, what you asking me, that's not my technique, can I just showcase you my technique? No. And anyway, 10 minutes later she got up and she said, you don't know how to do massage, you should not even be in this business, and I'm so unhappy. And I'm like, please, apologies, you're fully refund and goodbye. So everybody have their own opinion, and it shouldn't affect you. Like, obviously you take their opinion is like what it is, but some people just, that's how they feel.
Some people just want problems.
That's very true.
This has been a hell of a conversation.
Really interesting.
This has been really enlightening. It's something very different from what we normally have. Just before we wrap up, we like to ask all of our guests the same question at the end of every episode. And we basically say, for someone who might already have a business or be looking to start one in your industry or in another industry, if you could give them one piece of advice that's a piece of practical advice, that's less sort of belief based and more kind of practical, what would you say?
I would say protect yourself, right? Write all the policies, make sure all the contracts are in place, everything in place, because that's what later causes you a lot of stress. And while you getting all that information, in like all your licensing and this and that and the other, it removes a lot of stress later. So there is not going to be like, council tax comes in, it sends you an email, tomorrow we're coming for an inspection, and they literally check everything. So in the UK there is a very strict rules and regulations on many things, and people could be checked at any point. So if there are some weak points, especially to do with the paperwork, licensing, contracts with the staffing and things like this is quite important, because that's where people go wrong. Like electricity bill, if you didn't register and give them the meters, all of a sudden you get at the end of the year £10,000. Do you have that money? Did you know? So I think number one is like, be quite specific about the paperwork and the licensing and all of that type of thing, that so it works, so you don't get those surprises, because it's those surprises expensive surprises or time-consuming surprises, which really can take a lot of your time.
Sure.
That's
And
right.
that's how you learn as well what
Yeah.
that's how you can be confident in you doing it right.
Mm.
We did everything, and then we got an inspection, and it was excellent. I'm like, wow,
A nice surprise.
good girl.
Exactly.
Well, that's a nice piece of advice, and no one's touched on that before. So thanks for that, Tetyana. Thank you so much for an amazing conversation. Where can people find you?
They could find us in Chelsea on King's Road, Trade for King's Road, at the Cellulite Slayer. We are going to be opening in the US and hopefully everywhere else. But if you can't get to the salon, I would say like the most important things about your body and things is about maintenance. So anything you do for yourself, for your body, for your spirit, for your energy, just do little bits, 10 minutes a day. But register it. Like, I don't know, I just painted my nails. Okay, was me time. Because a lot of people are, I don't have time. This is the single biggest excuse people give to themselves. I don't have time. Because you had the time, but because you didn't register. You had a cup of tea. That's a self-love.
Yeah,
True.
couldn't
The
agree more.
little things like that.
I couldn't
That is
agree
very
more.
true.
I try and apply that every week, every Sunday. I try and take a little time just to get myself
just take
refreshed.
a breather and you're like,
I'm
life
okay.
is good.
Yeah.
Exactly. Appreciate things.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Tetyana, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, it's really good.
Guys, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications. We've got some amazing conversations coming, and what an amazing episode this was. So yeah, make sure to subscribe. And if you're listening on the audio platforms, then please do rate us 5 stars. And if you really enjoyed it, then please do leave a review. And we've got plenty more amazing conversations coming, and we hope to see you in the next one. But for now, Tetyana, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Our
My pleasure.